Hello, everybody. I am so sorry that I can't be in class today, but I went ahead and recorded this video for you right now so that we can go ahead and make sure we don't waste any of our valuable class time, just trying to catch up later. So, if you would all go ahead and be so kind as to get a sheet of paper out, we're going to go ahead and write a quick check-in. So, as you can go ahead and see on my screen right now, the question is, what do you know about Theodore Roosevelt? This guy right over here. Go ahead and try to write up to 5 facts you know about him. Go ahead and do your best. We'll go ahead and give you 5 minutes to go ahead and think some things over. And once we're all done with that, the substitute teacher will go ahead and choose 5 of you to go ahead and call out your fact. And we'll go ahead and see if we happen to say any of the same ones. So, go ahead and pause me right now. And we'll go ahead and wait a minute. Alrighty. Now that you guys went ahead and had a chance to talk about that, let's go ahead and hop straight into the lesson. Uh, right here, you'll see Teddy Roosevelt. And let's go ahead and talk about those quick facts. These two are some pretty big ones. The fact that Teddy Roosevelt in 1906 won a Nobel Peace Prize for negotiating peace over in Russia and Japan. Uh, let's see if any of you guys happen to say that one. Another one is that he also had Congress purchase the Panama Canal, which is way down in Central America. It's the way that ships go ahead and move from Pacific to the Atlantic, most commonly now. Uh, Additionally, some of my personal favorite facts are that he is the namesake of the teddy bear. He is a president who got shot during a speech that he was giving, but refused to stop giving the speech and receive medical treatment until he was done, which I think is always really cool. Uh, and lastly, he was really into national parks. So if you guys said any of those, good job. You guys are real history buffs. But our lesson today is mostly concerned with this thing that he said right over here. This here is a quotation that he is notorious for. It is speak softly and carry a big stick. You will go far. Now, this was kind of not only a means of his philosophy of life, but it was also something that would go on to influence his presidency greatly once he eventually takes over for President McKinley after his assassination. And so that is what our lesson is going to go ahead and be focused on today. So if you would all be so kind as to go ahead and take out a sheet of paper, go ahead and flip over that quick check-in we did, and go ahead and write a double T-chart, which means we should go ahead and have 3 categories on there. On that top left category, go ahead and write big stick diplomacy or Roosevelt corollary, and you can go ahead and put in Theodore Roosevelt in there too to go ahead and name it. But we're going to be talking about some of the diplomatic policies that some of these presidents had, most notably the 3 progressive presidents, as they are called, the 26th, 27th, and 28th presidents. And we'll go ahead and start with the man himself, Theodore Roosevelt. He is most notable for that big stick diplomacy, calling back to that speak softly and carry a big stick quote of his. That is kind of the mentality that he went into his presidency with. His Roosevelt Corollary, as it's called, serves as a kind of follow up to the Monroe Doctrine, the fifth president's big doctrine way back when, in 1823, where he goes ahead and makes it very clear to the rest of the world that European powers have no business being anywhere in Latin America or anything in the Western Hemisphere. It is by doing so that Roosevelt asserts the U.S. as a sort of police force in the Western Hemisphere. If anything's going to happen over here, it is the US's job to go ahead and intervene and deal with it. And European powers need not intervene, need not colonize, need not concern themselves with the matters of the Western Hemisphere. In essence, the big stick diplomacy kind of asserts itself as a little bit of a kind of bullying policy, where they make it very clear that they don't need any Europeans walking over to the West and making their business over here. And so, after Roosevelt's, moves on out of office, uh, the man who succeeds him is William Howard Taft. You can see this man right over here, a large gentleman. He is most known for what is referred to as his dollar diplomacy. Now, just like Theodore Roosevelt had a quotation of his own, William Howard Taft had this idea of trading out bullets for dollars, is this kind of big quotation, where rather than intervening it through violence and other means, he made it clear that he meant to intervene in Latin America and the Western Hemisphere as a whole through economic means. He wanted to go ahead and use the US's bountiful wealth to invest in this world and to secure loans for Latin American countries, as well as taking on the debt that they had accrued. By doing so, he secures the economic benefits of the Western Hemisphere that he did not want to go to Europe. Even so, it still draws upon some of Theodore Roosevelt's ideas of that big stick diplomacy, where we use our wealth to go ahead and protect our American investments now, viewing these nations as a form of investment, essentially. And so, now that you have that middle category, make sure to go ahead and put dollar diplomacy, William H. Taft. And in that bottom category, just as before, make sure that you go ahead and write down a couple of the notable facts that you think stand out about dollar diplomacy. I will go ahead and take a step back right here so you can go ahead and take a look at the big stick diplomacy slide. If you missed anything, you can go ahead and write some of those facts down. Go ahead and pause me right here if you'd be so kind. Alrighty. And so we go ahead and carry on. Now in that third category, we are going to go ahead and write down Woodrow Wilson and his missionary diplomacy, also sometimes referred to as moral diplomacy. Now, unlike the economic policy of dollar diplomacy or the kind of more brutish, aggressive policy of big stick diplomacy, Woodrow Wilson preached a diplomacy style that had to do more with morals. He believed that we would go ahead and support countries that we thought held up to the moral standards that we have imposed, which is very subjective, which also meant that he had more than enough ammunition to go ahead and attack some of these places that maybe he did not agree with entirely. Uh, as such, right here, he was not going to have the US recognize regimes that are aggressive to U.S. interests, or that they deem not exactly correct for the New World. Uh, you might include communist and kind of dictatorships in there. Uh, and they certainly had a fair amount of their hands in the pies of the Latin American countries. Uh, in fact, Woodrow Wilson ended up intervening the most out of all three of these presidents when it came to protecting the interests of the nations. But what I really want you to take away from Woodrow Wilson's policies is that he goes ahead and, by intervening so often, takes the US out of its shell that it's kind of been in these previous two diplomatic modes, and makes it very clear that the US is going to become a global power that asserts its uh, power in the places it needs to protect its interests. And that is the mode that the USA ends up remaining in for the remainder of its lifespan, actually. Even to this day, we still have a very worldwide policy that originates from here, which is a very important thing to take away. And so, it is at this point that the substitute will go ahead and hand out a slide, or I should say a sheet. This is what it looks like right over here. 3 presidents, 3 foreign policies. Let's go ahead and hand that out, and you guys will go ahead and break up into groups. Group 1 and 2, you will take on the role of talking about Roosevelt. Group 3 and 4 will talk about Taft, and Group 5 and 6 will talk about Wilson. And each of you are to go ahead and discuss the unique qualities of that specific president's diplomatic policy. And then go ahead and, if you have time, here's an extra question for you to be left up. Out of the three presidents, Latin American diplomacy, which one had the most significant impact on the US and Latin American relationship? Go ahead and talk about that. The substitute will go ahead and give you about 20 minutes to do so. And once you're all done with that, you are to go ahead and review with each other. And on the board, there will be a Google form for you to answer. Once you're all done with that, you are free to do whatever you'd like for the rest of the day, finish up extra homework, and all that. I hope you were able to enjoy the lesson, and I look forward to seeing you all soon, where we can talk about this once more.